Order because we're a little after 7. So I've got agendas up here. It's another banner turnout. Mark, thank you for making the trip over the hill. I know it's dangerous and scary.
I don't know about dangerous.
Especially at night.
So, Matt, thank you too for making that journey because you got to go all the way to Guilford. Well, we got somebody got to go to Marlboro and Brattleboro, so.
We should have carpooled.
Yeah.
Went right through there.
So, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Now I can think of.
Okay, then moving forward, I got members of the public. So, Mark, I think you're about the only public here.
Nothing.
Cool. Anybody else? I don't put members of the staff, but I really got to start remembering that. Rick.
Yep.
But staff, you guys got anything? Review and approve the minutes of December 17th, 2018 meeting. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of that meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Rick has moved it. Do I have a second?
Second? Sorry.
Dwight seconds it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Cool. Barry had an accident at work today, not serious, but he just couldn't make it tonight. And I haven't heard from Laura, but Laura said she's going to be here unless somebody else heard different.
We got correspondence that she was going to be super late.
That's right. Yeah, there's a hearing or something.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to move right over to the communications report. It's the narrator. So there's a few things going on. So I'm going to start with this. How many of these did you bring?
2.
Okay. So Anita has got a mock-up of our mailing that we want to do. So go ahead and while that's going through the board, and when the board gets this, I only have those 2. After the board gets to see it, then we'll pass it out into the audience. So Anita, if you'd like to tell us all about it.
Okay, so backing up, the Bucketville is out. RVUSD is on the usual pages, the calendar events. We did get 2 columns in the January Bucketville on our BUD news, and then another half page in a column of some other stuff. So we are continuing to have a good relationship with the Bucketville news. My deadline is Thursday for the February issue, and I am proposing, Rich, I gave you this page, that we just do another full page boxes of stuff thing, Vienna White, and that, I'm sorry, and that we just not write an article this month since they're going to be overloaded with words when they get the other thing anyway. So my idea is to just do that. So comments, thoughts, questions before I continue on?
Anybody, any comments, thoughts, questions, concerns?
That's the...
So I had just one comment.
Yeah.
I thought maybe if we shrunk it down a little bit, maybe we could just put all voters should have received a mailing.
Well, we're not sending it to all voters.
Yeah,
That's the thing. We're sending it to 1 per address.
No, well, what I did was, on my, if you notice on my list,
You merged the names.
I merged the names.
Jackie didn't do that, but I suppose I could go back and do
So
that.
how about if we're putting a mailing out to voters in
Correct.
the towns? If you were accidentally missed, here's where you can get them. Please look for this on or about. When is
Well,
this?
it'll be already out by then,
okay.
because we're gonna try to get the mailing to the printer on this Friday. So they'll start printing it on Monday, so it could conceivably be out by Thursday.
Excellent. So then we can just say it was sent out on this date. So if you didn't get one, here's where you can get one.
Okay, now, did you want...
Mark, did you want to?
So I can shrink that down.
I thought just a line somewhere. Sure. Maybe just put something that kind of draws your eyes to it.
Sure, I can do that. So
does anybody have a problem with that, or does somebody want to see something different in the Bucketville news? Because I think we're going to have a lot of chance to sell everything or let people know and have discussion with, because we've got, the annual meeting, we've got the 2 meetings before that, and then before the budget vote, we have a couple meetings also that we'll be able to present.
right, and the March Bucketville comes out before the annual meeting in theory, And so we have one more shot to explain something to at least the people of Wardsboro. And of course, we can rely on Lauren's excellent work for covering Dover for y'all.
And don't forget Richard's excellent work recording us.
Yes,
so that
we're
we can
the
be
award-winning series.
our award-winning.
Should I put that in here?
Yeah.
So that's the Bucketville update. We're good?
Everybody okay on the board?
Yes.
Anybody out there in the audience have any comments? Anybody want to comment about Lauren's wonderful reporting?
Wonderful.
Okay.
Every time
I love the two-part annual review.
So, as the last time we were looking for a quote, and Rick had suggested we talk to Minuteman Press, so I did get the quote from Minuteman Press. I gave Rich a copy, and it looks like we're going to have to print about 1,300 copies of that, and at 1,300 copies, it comes out to just a tad under $1 per copy, but we have to add postage onto that, which is mailing in-state 29 cents per piece, using the bulk rate of the mailing people, Minuteman Press. So the Wardsboro voter list is originally 530 names. It was purged down to 313 names by Jackie. The Dover voting list was originally 1,282 names. We shrunk that down to 972 names, or Rich did. And so that leaves us about 1,285 addresses, and down from 1,812. So that means 5,027 names were either removed or, in the case of Rich, merged. So that's that. You're right. So, so that's where we are as far as the mailing list itself. And I can go back through Jackie's list. I have her original list and her list she sent me, and I can re-merge those names to the addresses, but it won't change the total. We'll still be mailing out almost 1,300 pieces. So my question to you is, do you want to print extras to have at the town offices and the schools and or anywhere else? And if so, how many? If you look on the back of the quote, the price for 1,500 brought it down to 89 cents per piece.
Rick has weighed in. He said yes right off before you finished.
Yes.
Well, I'm just,
Well, we'd rather have a few
Carrie?
extras, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
that's the quote in any case.
Okay, so then I think we're all in agreement that we would want extras, because the other thing, I think it could be useful at the annual meeting anyways, is kind of like the people bring their town reports to town meeting. They could bring this report to the school district meeting. So I would think we would want extras. So the question is, if we're gonna mail, say, just for round numbers, 1,300, do we want to go to the 1,500?
Just go down in price the more you.
Yes,
Yeah,
if you
here-
turn that piece of
I
paper
do need this
over,
then.
it comes down a nick.
Oh, so it's,
It's $400. I think it's
yeah,
well
well
worth it.
And the
yeah.
postage,
So go to
again, will
plus the
be another,
yeah, go to
Well, we
1,500.
won't mail those extra ones, right?
no,
No.
we'll just have those as
Yeah, so go to 1,500.
distribution copies.
So 1,500 will leave us an extra 220.
A little bit-ish, yeah.
So how many do you
Over the
think
walls.
would you want to put at the schools?
We're sending them home to all families
Well, no,
The mail?
most of the families
We're gonna
should
get it.
get them through,
through the mail.
yeah,
Okay. Well, it'd be nice to have
20.
20 at school, yeah.
Tammy, you good with 22? 20 also?
You're doing 20 total? We probably need fewer than
Just
that.
to leave
then.
on the counter.
Yeah, we probably need fewer than that, say
Okay, so
15.
let's just say the schools take
100.
30, 100. Well, if you take 100 and we do 100 at the two town clerk's offices, then we have none extra to bring to the meeting. So do we want to do a little over 1,500?
I think you're good at 1,500, because if they each take 25, that's 50, and 50 at each of the town schools, that's only 200. So you still have 20-something left over. And don't forget, some will probably come back to you. And that's my other question, but, I mean, not all will be successfully mailed in my
Oh, so what are you
experience.
going to use for return address?
That was my next question. It's on here as a blank, on
Just one of
there
the
as a
schools?
blank.
Yeah, just pick a school.
Matt, you get your mail delivered, right? Do you get
Yeah.
your mail delivered, Tammy?
At the post office, we pick it up.
You have to pick it
Yeah.
up? Why don't you have it go to Dover, and the only reason is, and that way Tammy doesn't get overwhelmed someday going to get mail and having
Reason of the
to
box.
bring a pickup down to.
Yeah, I think bulk mail comes back to you if it's undeliverable. I'll check on that. Or it might go back to the permit person. In that case, I'll let them know.
Okay, so we're good with 1,500?
I mean, it
Yeah,
would
that's
be
great.
nice to have some for a town meeting too. I mean, there are people
Well,
that are
that's
not
why I
going to
wondered
bring
if
it.
we
you
want to
know
go
what
a
I
little
mean?
bit over.
I think we'll be all right.
You probably,
I mean, it's $89 for another 100.
I know, well, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, exactly. We're
And the
kinda-
other thing is, it's our first time,
Mhm.
so it'd be kind of nice to give
I'd-
one of the
I'd way
historical
err on
societies.
really
Is it
parsing
1600?
It keeps them, so
mail
that,
one to the gov.
Wallpaper the walls.
It's 1,700.
1700.
Mail some to Dr. Friend.
I was 100 less than Bill. That's 100 more than you guys.
So
Great.
pick a number, gentlemen, ladies.
Carrie, you know what? We're gonna let you pick a number.
1,500, I mean, I think that we'll be pretty good about recycling ones that people aren't gonna use, collect those. I don't think we need hundreds left over.
Okay. You guys good with that, or you wanna go higher? It's gonna be a vote.
You gonna vote on, you gonna vote
It's
on
gonna
this?
be a vote.
I
A
don't
How
know.
number
about-
in between 1,600.
15,
1600, we'll meet in the middle, 1600, sounds good. How's that
16.
So somebody make a motion for 15 or 16, I don't care. Whoever makes a motion first.
Go ahead,
sound?
White.
Me? Make a motion that we print 1600 of the annual reports.
Well, I think we're authorizing,
Oh, we're authorizing Anita.
Me to place the order.
To place the order for 1600 annual budget reports to be printed. Is that
and,
correct?
yeah, include mailing those.
And to be mailed
Okay.
to these.
Yeah, what you'll have to do is they'll submit an invoice for the printing and then a separate invoice for the cost of postage. So you'll get 2 invoices from them.
Okay.
Okay.
Or I might have to go get a check. I'm not sure how they run it.
I'll give you a credit card and just get reimbursed if you need it.
Okay.
You done with your motion?
I think so.
Okay,
I
I'll
think
second it.
he lets you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Hang on a second, and Carrie's gonna have a question.
Yes.
Peter, do you have the motion?
The motion was to authorize Ms. Raphael to have 1,600 copies printed
In mail,
and mailed?
Yep, they do all that.
Okay. To the voter list,
Yes, for each town.
and Rick seconded the motion.
each
So we have a
town.
motion and a second, so Carrie wanted to have some discussion.
Do you know what the difference is between, you probably said it, I'm sorry, I'm reading.
$89?
Was it $89
Per
between the
100.
extra 100? Okay,
That's what Bill figured out.
that's what you're thinking?
Well, because
Well, check 89
after
cents
50,
piece.
yeah, it's 89
Yeah,
cents.
still
Right,
in there.
89
Still-
cents
That's what you said.
Okay.
at the 1,500,
I guess
okay.
we're still in discussion, right?
Yeah, we'll finish
Okay.
Carrie. You good, Carrie?
I'm satisfied.
Okay, go ahead, Dwight.
This is the first I've seen of it. Do we?
All right, so I'm gonna present that's next.
Oh, okay, all right.
I wanna finish this part first.
No,
Got it.
we haven't authorized this
Oh, I-
specific item to go
just-
out, but we're gonna print mail something,
Okay.
so. So you good, right?
Yes.
Any other discussion? Any comments anywhere? Going once, going twice? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries unanimously. Yay! Now,
Part 3. Part 3 is the 12-page annual budget report that you assigned me last time.
you did a
And-
very good job, thank you.
So far, so good. I made 2 copies. One is just a crummy mock-up in black and white, and then the other one is a crummy mock-up in color. So, and I realize it's the first you're seeing of it. I'd like to get it to the printer by Thursday-ish in its final form, so we do have some time to futz with it. So the front and back covers will be color. Matt and Tammy have approved the photography that was chosen, so we're good on that. I followed the cover format that was used in the Leland and Gray with the dates and info right on the cover and all that. So then you open it up, and the first left-hand page is the superintendent's letter, and then the next page is the letter from the principals, and then the next page is the letter from the board. So the 3 letters run right up front. And again, these are mock-ups, these are for corrections, fixes, whatever. And so then the next page after opposite the letter is page 1 of the warning. And it's not the exact scan of the warning because I had this thing that everything had to be in the same font. So it's the same exact words, it's just not the same exact font. And then the next page is the continued page of the warning, page 2 of the warning, and then this is now the centerfold, and opposite that are the signatures, and since the signatures were only a half page, at the bottom of that I put a little box to advertise the website. Go there if you need more stuff. Then the next page after the warning is the River Valley School District Summary Budget Comparison. And again, it's the same one as before, only I changed the font and shrunk things a little bit. And then opposite that are the 2 slides, the last 2 slides that are from the presentation. I wrote on here that Rich is going to do the presentation again. So are you?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, at the meeting.
they
And so
want.
these are the last 2 slides. One that shows the budget comparison thing, and then the little slide that says what can affect that rate. So if somebody wants to, right above that, it says go to the website and you can see the whole slide presentation, or you can see the BCTV video of Rich giving the presentation, and that's noted on that website page where the links are, that this is the one that has the budget talk, tax talk on it. Then the next page is page 10, and that was a blank page, and I had put in that if you guys had a preference of what you wanted on that page, I just picked this stuff. You can tell me if you want something else on that page. At this point, it's open to suggestions if you prefer to have data and more words, or these pictures will be black and white. They won't be color photos. And then on the inside back cover is that little timeline thing again. I printed this upside down this afternoon, so don't mind me. Is that little timeline thing again, and it's a little different than the Bucketville one because it contains a couple of January dates that would already be passed by the time the Bucketville thing comes out. So that is how we used up 12 pages.
I don't think it's quite made it around yet, but
No, there's no hurry. I would email it, except it's a humongous
yeah,
file.
no, I think we're okay.
Because
Yeah,
of
emails.
the photography and everything, it ends up being like a 30-something.
So I just, Carrie, you reviewed. Do you have any comments?
No, I was just reading Bill's letter, so I read the principal's letter and.
Yeah, so
our
we got a
letter.
couple changes we're gonna make to the principal's
sure.
letter. And then there's Bill's letter's fine, because we're not gonna change Bill's letter or the principal's letter, because that's their letters. Just some grammatical stuff. Our letter got sent out to everybody. Everybody said it was okay, yes, and we are gonna correct your name, Carrie. 'Cause
Yeah, I did that already on the.
I messed up so bad.
Ah,
And then I think I was good with everything else that when I saw it, so I would give it the thumbs up.
Well, I'm not in a hurry, so
Well,
we
I'd
have.
like to get it,
We
the
might as well
quicker
get
we
it
get
done
it
while
to
we're all
you.
here.
Right, that's what I wanna do, is I wanna get it through, so Bill.
I would ask the board to consider changing the order of the letters. I think the first letter you guys should consider it coming from the board, speaking to your public, and then the principals, and then the
I
other
I
guy.
didn't wanna take your thunder away, Bill.
No, that is absolutely the way it should read. You guys are the elected officials of your communities. That should be the first letter. Then you should have the representatives of the communities, and then the
So
nameless,
could I
faceless
say why
guy.
I did it the way I did? He didn't tell me to do it that way.
Oh, no, I'm saying you should tell them.
So the reason I did it that way is so that the board's letter would be opposite the start of the warning. Because he references things in his letter that are immediately following on the next page. So I felt that was important to have those 2 pages as a spread because it references. And I liked the principal's letter on the first opening right-hand page, because that's typically the page people look at first, and it was a lovely short letter, so I thought it should be there.
And
I
you did make some changes that I just shared with you.
Yeah, those
so-
are fine. And then the superintendent's letter, you were the only one that had anything that looked like a letterhead, and so I thought that looked good on the inside front cover as part of the umbrella of who we all are, and so that was my logic. It was
Well,
not a illogical, a
You're the pro,
random,
man.
random choice.
You're the pro.
So that's why I did that.
Perfect.
You may change it.
No, I mean, I know Leland and Gray's usually, but Leland and Gray, the superintendent and the board chair do a letter together, right? I mean, it's up to you guys. I think Bill's makes logic, I think Anita does too, you know, so I'm good with anything, but if it's set up already, I just assume
no
leave
big
well
deal,
enough
to swap
alone.
a page number.
Maybe, you never can tell. The only other question I had was what can't remember, but did we get a picture? Does somebody remember? We did the first meeting with the governor. Is there a picture of the Dover and Wardsboro kids together with the governor?
It's on page 10.
Yeah, it's in here.
Well, that's a picture of the Wardsboro students getting.
Well,
It's
those
actually
are
Dover
Dover kids,
students,
which
too.
I did not know until this evening.
Okay.
So I have to
There's Dover
rewrite
in
this
there.
caption to say
Okay.
both Dover and Wardsboro children.
Okay.
It's on something.
So I understand that they, you know, we did the presentation, they did the one presentation about getting that, but I think it would be kind of cool to, I mean, I don't care if you take the bottom picture and do a picture from the presentation that the Wardsboro kids did, because I think that was important too, but I think that was really the first time that the River Valley's board met. The kids were there, the
I
governor was there.
only have this one picture?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, that should be the caption, not that it's just the kids presenting.
I will
And then
fix that.
if you, do you have a picture when they were actually doing their skit, or they're kind of,
Yeah.
and maybe that would be the second picture under there while the governor's here, or, you know, as
Wait,
part
can
of
you
the.
send me that, Tammy?
Yeah, I'll go through. I'm almost positive I do.
Okay.
Anita, did you say that the board's letter, if I'm looking at the warning, the board's letter is here?
Yeah, the board's letter will be on the left
Okay.
of the warning.
Well, I could see that could be unbelievably valuable, because that's what you do at town meetings.
So page 1
You're
of the
gonna go
warning-
through the warning, and if the board's letter references,
Right. So that's why I put the opening page of the warning next to, because otherwise I would have had to put the warning way up front, and then the school's letter and your letter way up in the back.
yeah, because this is what I would do.
I
If I
wanted
was
it-
there, I'd open to this page
Right.
while the meeting's happening.
That's why I made it a spread.
I get that. No, you know what you're doing.
It takes a lot of patience, that's all. Talent zero, patience enormous.
So does everybody on the board feel comfortable enough, having reviewed this, that everything's in there that you all would want to see? Rick, you said you're good. Dwight, you're all?
Well, I see someone marked up about Wardsboro taking
Yeah.
a step into steam. Is that a reason that's marked up? Or?
Yeah, because we don't,
Yeah.
decision hasn't been made yet.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
So there's several things, so the
Little
Tammy
things.
Matter, and then there was a spelling mistake, so they're gonna,
Just 'cause
I guess Tammy just
I
spoke
just shared
to.
it with.
Yeah, I caught at least 4 versions of Australian and
Is it Austrian or Australian?
It's Austrian, yeah. Okay.
Terry, you okay with the content
I am,
and the way it's set up?
I am.
Okay, I don't think this actually needs a motion, just that if we're good, then I would say that Anita's, for the last 3 years anyways, Anita's, if anybody wants to look at that.
it's
Anita's
very messy.
Anita's been very good about leading us down the straight and narrow, so I'd say that we've got the number of pages is right. Whatever little minor adjustments you want to make is great. If you think something in your final mock-up doesn't look right, I think we can give you carte blanche, as long as what the information that's in there now is in there.
Yeah, I'll give it a final proofread one more time to make sure I didn't leave any numbers or anything out on the numbers pages, but I think I got it all.
Okay, and then maybe Bill's got a lot of, he's on, Fiverr over there in Towns in Harmonyville, so maybe just send one to him, and Bill, maybe just have the business office run through the numbers real quick and make sure we're all happy
Yeah,
with
I'm
those.
gonna be here tomorrow morning doing this. I'm up to there. So I'm going to be here so I can use this, mail it over.
Okay. So is everybody good, or does anybody want to see the final mock-up before it goes to press, or are we gonna put our faith in our communication specialist?
If you can email it, that'd be, just take one last peek, can't hurt. Just sending it out.
Yeah, if I
printing out
email it
17
from here, I
notes,
can do it. If I do it from home, I have DSL line,
Yeah.
which stands for damn slow line.
Yeah,
But I'll do it from here tomorrow morning.
it can't hurt, just have one more peek
What
at it,
time
I
on the
think.
video?
Okay, so,
You don't want any mistakes.
What?
No, that's fine.
A good example.
You can
Anita,
edit that.
so listen, guys, we'll ask Anita to send it out tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
And then if I don't hear back from people by 5 o'clock Wednesday, then that's your last chance.
perfect.
And I'll try to get it to the printer Thursday, and that gives them a week, so it can be out very early because,
Excellent.
Great.
Rich,
Excellent work.
one, joint, it's one single school district. I don't know if you wanna.
joint annual school meeting as in, we're not having two separate meetings anymore. So that's why I
Right.
struggled with that. I had unified, I had nothing, and then I ended up going with joint. Combined didn't seem right.
I would just annual school meeting, annual school board meeting.
For the, yeah, because it's the River
It's-
Valleys and it
yeah.
is the annual school.
Delete?
meeting.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
I have to
Thanks,
take
Mark.
joint out, yeah.
Done?
Good catch. Yeah.
That's all I read.
That's a good one.
Okay, well, let's, so I think we're all good. Is there anything else needed that we need to do with you, or are we?
Well, other than thinking ahead to what you want me to do for the March bucket bill, that's our last punch on voting. I don't know how you want to handle, sample ballot. Andy will have a sample ballot available by then.
Well, the ballots are gonna be different in each town.
No, so we're gonna have to deal with whether we want to do
So,
something.
well, as far as I talked to Andy today, and I think he's gonna have a separate ballot in Dover, also not combining with the town ballot like he originally thought. But he wasn't exactly sure what he was gonna do. So I don't know if you need a sample ballot, but I think the March bucket bill should just be more about, here's where you can find out information on the budget.
Okay.
Here's when the, because we will have there will not be a meeting before the annual before the town meeting, will there?
Right. And the full school budget will be in the town report. It's just not in this.
Right.
Correct. So I'll notice that.
And that, you have to vote for the budget by ballot, so please make sure you come and vote.
And the other pending businesses, my letter of agreement that I have with you runs through town meeting. So if you think you have stuff for me going forward, we can talk about that in March.
Okay, so later on, we're going to have, where did I put it?
Quote that.
You missed your chance.
No, I was
You
getting
can't
ready to
add
do
it.
CPR.
I thought I put in here calendar. If we wanted to discuss the calendar. And I actually brought a calendar.
Review
That's a
dates
real
and
calendar?
activities for budgeting and public meetings.
Nah, it wasn't
That was
that.
more,
I messed up. Okay. Well, we'll do it under new business anyways.
So that's it for me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody, anything for Anita?
No, thank you.
Okay, old business. Transportation Committee work, which is ongoing, Carrie, that's just in there as a placeholder. So I don't think you've had any meetings since, have you?
No, and I'm gonna work on the letter. I took vacation,
No,
so I
that's
didn't do
great.
work or vacation.
So
I'll
you
work
will-
on a letter.
Pretty much I'll be in every agenda.
Okay.
So if you have a meeting or if you have anything, it's kind of there as, like I said, a placeholder. Everybody I think is up to date on that. We've discussed and reviewed the mailing and the budget. Updates on the Wardsboro camp, I used that bad word, sorry, Wardsboro focus work. Turn it over to Mr. Antoon, who will enlighten us.
So,
Spin around, Tammy, you gotta watch the other way. Mark it backwards.
Tammy's gotta help.
I have eyes back there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Rich. Do you have that?
I don't need that.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying not to make copies for everyone.
Okay,
Too much
you guys
paper.
ready?
Right.
All right,
and roll.
so, the board in the fall of 2018 tasked me
Last year.
with engaging with the staff of both Wardsboro and Dover, and investigating a possible focus for the Wardsboro community. And part of that was meeting with both sets of staff. We ran through a protocol to kind of elicit the ideas of the Wardsboro staff, and then we did the exact same thing with the Dover staff. And then we created kind of a Venn diagram to see which ones were similar. And then we created a survey that we shared with parents and community members, and we have the results of that survey, which I'm going to share with you now. We had 2 result nights, one here in Wardsboro, of which there were multiple members of the community, and then we had a reveal night in Dover, of which there were 1 new person to hear. So here we go. So we had 69 responses, which was pretty good. And if you look at the distribution, it's dominated by Wardsboro parents and community members from Wardsboro, which makes a lot of sense because that's what the conversation was about, was the focus of Wardsboro. I was very happy, though, that we got community members from both Dover and Wardsboro, and parents from both Dover and Wardsboro. So we had 69 respondents that gave us some really high-quality data. There are some copies for the board's review. The last question on the survey was just any comments or knowledge that the respondents wanted to give to the board, and I believe there were 32 of those, 31 of those. And so I have a copy for you, the board, to review. So 69 survey participants, heavily weighted in the Wardsboro community. And the results of that, it was set up where there were 6 options for people to rank, 1 through 6. First being the option that you would most like to see, and 6th being the option you would least likely to see. And this just gives you a visual. I'm going to get into some detail with the numbers, but if you look at the graphic, the STEM or STEAM responses were significantly higher as a first choice than any other response. The second choice, which I found very interesting, is project-based learning. And project-based learning is a huge component of doing a STEM or STEAM emphasis. So the 6 were nature, environmental-based, project-based learning, STEM, STEAM, sustainability, an early learning center, or the International Baccalaureate. And I'll give you some more detail here. So these are the first choices. As you can see, it was a 2-to-1 of STEM and STEAM. Remember, that's 38 out of 69 responses. So you got more than half of the people that responded from the 4 different contingencies put STEM or STEAM first. Then you had nature, IB, and project-based learning, all kind of in a cluster there, and then the early learning center and sustainability. Any questions so far?
Doing great.
And so since STEM or STEAM was the most first choice responses, I thought it was important just to give the board again a view of this is the descriptor that came in the survey. So when people were deciding what they wanted to rank, this was what people had an opportunity to consider what STEM or STEAM is. And as you can see, I just highlighted the project-based learning because that was the second highest response. You guys good? Mm-hmm. So what could this look like? I'm going to just show you a quick 3 to 5 minute, do we have sound?
Yeah.
Video, just to give you a little taste of what a STEM or STEAM environment could look like.
Welcome to STEM School!
it's like a dream come true, to be honest with you. It's what's encouraged here is creativity and pushing the limits and breaking the rules, even if you need to really have a great experience created for the kids.
We do way more science here than any other school does.
We focus on 21st century skills, which include things like collaborating with others, creativity, innovation, digital media.
What makes it different is we add life to it.
The experiential learning, problem-based learning, critical thinking. Kids are doing projects that expand cross-curricular.
I challenge myself every day, challenge the students, challenge the system, challenge the methods, and it's okay to do that.
It's interesting and it's dynamic and it's interactive for them, and they can get their hands dirty and they can really get involved in this.
You know, we put that pizzazz, that thing that you wanted to do as a kid, that experience, that just thing that you'll never forget. My goal is every week they do something they'll never forget.
And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
It helps meet the needs of so many students that right now may otherwise not have a place or a passion for something. Many students are passionate about science and math.
And that's really what science is all about, is having a question and then trying to figure out how to solve that question or find answers to it.
We start with a problem like studying space and how do scientists and astronauts get information about our solar system and things that are unknown. And then from there, the students are developing their own questions as scientists would, and then developing a way to answer those questions.
And being able to show how science and math and technology and engineering, they can all be intertwined, and how we can teach that to our students, because it's what's happening right now in the real world.
Problem-based learning is when you are studying something. So for instance, we're doing insects. We talked about the mountain pine beetle, and we think about what insects are in Colorado. What are they that are native here? So the bees are, there was an influx of grasshoppers. The moths were horrible this year. The mountain pine beetle. So what are those that are problems that you're interested in? So everything that we have in our life can be a problem or it can be a solution. So we take that problem and we say, how can we make it a solution?
Now burrowing into a tree. The tree dies when the mountain pine beetle gets.
Make sure that all people are participating, that collaboration piece is that everybody feels identified and has a role. You know, I've taught insects before, and I never taught it like this. So them coming up and video recording or putting together a Prezi to present, they're learning some really big life skills. How to talk in front of people, how to organize, how to participate, how to articulate. But I want them to see life, our whole entire universe is science.
Rebecca thought that not writing in the septimus was the least of Helena's problems, but she knew how important this kind of... Rebecca thought that not writing in the septimus...
All right, that's just a taste. This is about a 20-minute video of a magnet school in Colorado. Just a couple things I wanted to point out. One, they talked a lot about cross-curricular and a deep dive into science. And it's important to remember that if you do a focus like this, this doesn't mean you're not teaching reading, you're not teaching very deliberate skills. This is just a focus that's going to be surrounding in the environment itself. One nice thing is the diving in an inquiry style way of learning, which is what the International Baccalaureate does. Having your 21st century skills, again, something that is part of the Venn diagram of what the International Baccalaureate does. So it's the ability to have kind of an enhancement of the entire system and to toggle back and forth with each other. One of the big questions I got from a lot of people was, well, how does this look? How long does it take? What would happen? Once the board decides on what you guys want a focus to be, that's when a lot of the work's going to happen. We're going to need to figure out how we're going to create a professional development system for the teachers, how we're going to engage the community, What's our timeline going to look like? We're going to need to visit schools. All of those kinds of things are in the future once the board decides. But I just wanted to point out, part of the research was looking at what kinds of things could we do for professional development for our educators if you were going to go down a path such as this. So this is just an example that Antioch has both a Master's of Education in STEAM integration, but they also have a certificate program, which is really nice because it's for the actual working teacher. You can pick and choose courses that might match exactly what you're trying to accomplish. This is just an example. There are workshops, there are conventions, there are conferences, and we would have to figure out, once the board decides what you want a focus to be, we would have to kind of make a multi-year plan of how we're going to deploy the creation of something like that. But I just wanted to point out that those kinds of things exist, but we haven't gotten into that because we don't know what the board wants to go on. So I appreciated the opportunity to do this, and I think that the survey, the connection to what Wardsboro has been working on for the last 3 or 4 years, and a deep dive of science, and what kind of the community has expressed an interest in, I think that the board should seriously consider a focus in the STEM STEAM arena. And that's what I got for you.
Okay, so anybody have any questions for Bill from the board first?
Thank you, first of all. It was a great presentation and really exciting. So.
Go ahead, Anita.
Bill, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you the night you did. Well, I asked you a lot of questions that night of the survey reveal here. But do you have any conjecture or idea of how a board would go about assessing and determining the needs of the physical space for a STEM STEAM program?
I think that's good.
Classrooms, labs,
Yeah.
facilities. How would you go about assessing that?
I think that's part of the process of determining a multi-year plan. I don't think you can know exactly what your physical needs are until
No, but I said assessing what they will be.
Well, I mean, I think that'd be part of the process, right? Is that, so for example, let's say that STEAM is chosen. We're going to visit some schools, we're going to look at some professional development, and then the board and the community are going to have to decide what path they want to go down, you know, what kinds of STEAM things they want to do. And if some of the STEAM things they want to do require space, then that would answer that question. But I don't think you can answer that question until you dive in and see what's possible, until you visit some places, until you go to some conventions, until you do some professional development.
Right, because you have slides about, and video about the teaching, but there's not much mention of space or physical needs or equipment needs or investment in the actual physicality of what has to be accomplished.
Yeah, I think that would evolve based on you know, what the next 3-4 years look like. And I think that's an important consideration. I just don't know what it looks like yet.
I just wondered if the education part of it came with guidelines for figuring out the physical part of it.
I think that's something that we would uncover.
Anybody else?
Do you have a breakdown of how the residents of both towns voted, specifically how the towns voted, rather than as a whole? In other words, like the residents of Wardsboro. I didn't see it that broken down that way.
No, I could, because it all feeds into a spreadsheet, but no, I did not break it down like that.
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to mention that the graphs are on the website. There's links to the 2 first slides that we saw with the graphs on RVUSD.net.
Let's see that.
Nobody else?
I'll ask a question. Presently, there's no accreditation for this, though, right? There's no like, formal.
Well, there's a certificate program, right?
That is for the individual.
The teachers.
Okay.
But not the school. Yes. And based on my research, there's no school in Vermont at the elementary level that is focused or promotes themselves in this manner.
Do you anticipate having someone at Wardsboro besides yourself and Tammy to be kind of a point person on staff, similar to what Dover did with IB, having Ms. Newman and Ms. Sullivan kind of be the point person to overtake the International Baccalaureate?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Again, that would go back to the physical.
Okay.
You know, I'd want to go see some places that are doing this
Right.
and see how they're accomplishing it.
Okay.
And then, you know, allow that freedom to say, and this would work here.
Okay.
You know, so I don't want to suppose the answer to that question.
I think it's a great model to follow.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Just the teacher leader model.
Oh, you're answering her question?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right, what that would look like of transforming and
Right.
taking on, knowing.
It makes a
that-
big difference when you do
Exactly.
have dedicated leader.
Go ahead, sir.
You mentioned that you didn't find any elementary schools that are currently
Or high
STEM.
schools.
Okay,
Just
that was
being
that was
specific,
going to be
yeah.
my question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
In Vermont meeting? Or-
In Vermont.
So I held all my questions till the end. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Okay. How will you ensure that there are appropriate training for the teachers so that they have the skill level to change their methods and costs?
How would I ensure that?
Yes.
Same way that we would ensure appropriate education right now. We'd have the leader of the building would be responsible for the development of whatever program was going to happen with assistance from myself and my office. But we would have to figure out, just as Tammy explained, do we need to have a point person to make that happen? But it would just be any supervision, evaluation, professional development that we currently do.
I noticed a lot of responses when it was just, you know, open-ended, ask a question, had a lot about hands-on learning, and I think a lot of the responses were, you know, we feel that's better. So is what you're recommending, does that involve hands-on learning, or is that a totally different program?
No, hands-on learning, project-based learning is assumed is happening in a STEAM program.
Did you notice that many people complimented the board?
I did, that's why I gave the board the copy.
And then, I don't know where this came from. I worry that losing 6th grade to the high school closing. I mean, there's never been any talk about that here, so I'm not exactly sure where that all came from, but was that ever a discussion in any of the?
No, I
Okay.
think that is just
Reading the
publicity
newspaper.
happening with Western.
Okay. And stupidest thing I ever heard is sending our students over the mountain to Dover after 3rd grade. That hasn't been brought up since a year ago, right? Or since?
Oh, well, it was one of the six.
It was one of the options.
Oh, it was one of them, okay. And this, I thought the one thing that was interested was, I rated IB in project learning highest because they're enhancing instruction delivery, teaching methods that fit all students. But isn't part of what we saw with going on here very similar to what the IB program is?
There's a lot of tenets that are very similar. I would say project-based learning. I would say cross-curricular. I would say 21st century skills. I would say inquiry-based. So the foundation is, there's a lot of similarities, but the pathway in which you go is more specific to the discipline.
But a lot of the IB stuff, the teaching skills or the skills in teaching, a lot of that's also part of the Common Core or similar to Common Core, right? So
Yes.
no matter what you choose, a lot of that's going to be tied into just the basic
Next
training.
generation science standards, Common Core, exactly.
Okay. So really, we don't go wrong with any way we go.
No, I mean, the opportunity I could foresee in the future, 5-10 years down the road, that you're going to have an enormous opportunity for your professionals to get professional development at a high level in both the world of International Baccalaureate and the world of STEAM that would not be really offered this close to home, really anywhere.
Well, let me.
Sorry.
I
It's kind of
think
related to
that's
that.
all
Sorry.
changed.
Related to that.
Go ahead, Dwight.
But based on what you're saying, so do you see any type of collaboration between the two schools? You know, even though they're taking different paths, like how
Absolutely.
Really?
Well, so for example, I mean, I know that Dover, when they host international baccalaureate conferences, a lot of the learning is about inquiry-based learning. And I know that Tammy, 3 years ago, has brought her own leadership to the Wardsboro School about inquiry-based learning. So there's going to be a ton of opportunity for cross-pollination that I think can only enhance the entire program.
Cool. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
So when when IB was first brought up in Dover, before we made a decision to go IB through with the IB program, which I understand this isn't a program so much as it's not a set program where we have to go and ask somebody to approve us.
Correct.
But before we made that decision, we went and visited schools, and we put the committee together. So are we kind of going backwards where we're saying we want to make a decision on where we want to go, and then we want to decide if it's... So I guess what I'm saying is, if we think, I don't know if we would say that we want to go for the STEM or STEAM, but say that's where we're leaning towards. So the next step before we commit to this, should we now say, let's get some people together, let's get the staffs together, let's go visit some schools, and let's see if that is the path we want to take, I guess is where I'm going. Does that make more sense than saying, no, we want to do this, and then go visit places, see if we have the capacity? Because maybe we find out that we don't have the capacity for this, so we need to do something different anyways. Or if we need to, add a greenhouse on the building or whatever, then that's something we can say to the voters, hey, look, we think we want to go here, like we did with the IB. So with the IB, we said to the voters, there's going to be some training required. We're going to have some student, some teacher training people. So this is what the cost is going to be, and we laid out a cost. Even though it was 3 years, we said about this amount of money every year. I feel more comfortable doing something like that before, because I think if we make a decision to go to something and then we find out it's not feasible, not financially feasible, or it doesn't work here. So I think maybe what the board should do is we take input at our next meeting, which is in Dover. Where we'll ask you to do the same presentation. We take input at the annual meeting, and then we bless a path to further explore, but maybe not sign up or not, we don't commit to it, but we're committing to explore, but not committing to go there. And then we start doing the other stuff that we talked about, then start the school visits, have the administration look into it more. To me, that makes more sense than... And then we could do is we would have some money available because we put money in for next year's budget. But if you say this is what we really want, then at next year's meeting we say to the voters, hey, look, this is really where we want to go. This is the path we think we want to take. And this is what it's going to cost you. And this is what we're going to need to do it. And this is how much it's going to take. Yay, nay. Matt, I'm sorry. Do you have your hand up, or you just? I just see over the top of Peter's head.
I mean, I agree with that. I think that this gave the board and our superintendent guidance about what the public, what the members are really interested in, so that we can pursue and make that educated presentation to them of what this looks like, the cost, the investment, how this is going to, fold out over the next couple of years. So that seems like the natural progression, instead of saying, yes, this is what we're going to do without really knowing how to implement it.
Yeah.
Or the costs, or the, investment in people that we need. So that sounds right.
Okay, because the other thought I had also is that when we went with IB is like a program that you get out of almost like out of a can, because we had to meet some requirements. It doesn't sound like there's any of these things that you suggested, other than IB, have an actual group that you have to go sell yourself to.
Well, you could. I mean, if for example, I think it's, that would be part of the path that I would consider, who is the industry recognized leader in STEAM education? And is there some sort of school-wide certification that, have a disciplined inquiry into developing a school that is committed to a STEAM-infused education? It probably does exist, and so it'd probably be well worth our time to look into that kind of good housekeeping seal of approval. I'm dating myself back to very old times, but where it would have not a checklist, but guidelines, and these are the things you need to do to really commit to this. So it's not just it's not just doing it for fun, but you're doing it for a disciplined academic investment.
So where I was kind of going was, though, if there isn't that thing, could we make our own?
Yeah, and all of that's possible.
And then that way, because there's some other things that people had suggested in the, leave a comment, that you could incorporate all that into it, and maybe in 20 years people are going to talk about the River Valleys program and how great that is, and and this is what you have to do to have Matt and Tammy come over and certify your schools as River Valley certifiable.
Sure, no,
So-
all of that. I mean, I think that's part of what both you and Carrie are talking about, is actually going down a disciplined path. So we had, all options were open, and then we narrowed it down to 6. We've gotten some feedback from our constituents, our community, and our educators. So if this is a path that we want to further explore, I think the board has already made a commitment to having some professional development, which is going to be necessary to even further explore the possibility. And I'd really like to go down that path so that I agree that possibly at this time next year you could say this is exactly what we're going to do. We visited these places, we checked out this conference this summer, we took a couple of courses in the fall, and now this is our 3 to 5 year plan, laying it all out. I think you guys have, the way you've set up your budget, you've set it up so that we could spend next year doing a path like that, so it could really become our own.
Are you guys good with that then?
I think, just in addition to the cost, and I think also I need to be assured that it meets the need, that whatever program we pick meets the needs of all the students in the community, because I do feel that it would be difficult for some to travel between towns if they want to change. So that's kind of important to me as well.
So if I can make a suggestion, then if you guys are good, we'll have Bill do the same presentation again in Dover. We'll get any feedback from the same people who are there.
We'll have a week to think about it, Mark.
2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. I'm sorry, 2 weeks to think about it.
Actually, 3 weeks, because we're not meeting.
28.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow, so you should have some great questions
we gave you
by
plenty
then.
of time.
You really want to give me that much time?
And then do it again at the annual meeting.
Right.
And then after the annual meeting, that second meeting in February, which will be in Dover, then we kind of narrow it down, and at that meeting and the following Wardsboro meeting, then we decide which direction we want to send our administrators off to, and what research that we want, what questions we need answered to move down, to go down the road. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes.
One thing that's confusing to me, so we're getting rid of all the other 5 options though right now,
Well,
or no?
I think
Putting them to the
Or
side
are we
at
still,
least.
are we at least
right,
putting
we're
them to the
not
side?
right. We're Bill's
Okay.
well, not no.
We have a
We haven't
focus.
made. What we're doing is we're going to ask Bill
Not
to
saying
do
we
this
made a
again.
decision.
Then we're going to take any input we get from that meeting, and then we'll take input from the annual meeting where we ask him to do this presentation again, and then we make a decision to where we want to head to. So we may come to the Dover meeting, to the annual meeting at the Wardsboro Town Hall, and people may say, oh no, we want an agricultural based program, and we liked program whatever, one of the other programs better. I don't think that means we're going to vote to do that program, but that will be where we direct our administration to move towards. Whatever program that, we seem to get public support and recommendation from our administrative team, and then the board will give some guidance on where we want to go, much like we gave them guidance in guardrails to get us where we are today.
Okay. So there'll be more discussion, more discussion,
Right.
and more discussion.
Yeah, good, well, we've always agreed to do it in,
Okay.
well,
Yeah, no, that's fine. I
in
get
both towns, so we get that. And then with the annual meeting right there, I think it's a really good time, especially with the annual meeting being in Wardsboro. I think it's a great time to let them bring it up there too. The only thing that scares me a little bit is, you know, we went through a lot of meetings and had a lot of discussions. And then until we kind of pushed a couple plans forward, that's when we started getting a lot more feedback. So I'd like to have Bill do his presentation and try to get that feedback before we start down a path and then figure out that that's not what the community wanted us to do. So that's why I think giving them the extra meeting is a good move. But you guys get to vote and overrule me. I mean, somebody
That's
wants
fine.
to.
I'm good going with that.
Makes
It's-
perfect sense.
I just don't want to, you know.
I don't want
see
to
it go
drag
on
too
for
much.
years.
No,
you
I
know.
think we set a date, that we set a time that at the end of March, we're gonna,
Okay.
or in February, March, we're gonna have a focus so that, again,
I
this
can live with
summer.
that. We don't have money for it till July anyway.
Right, and this summer, they can start moving forward. Is everybody good with that, Bill? Does that make sense to you? Sure. Matt and Tammy, you good?
Yeah, I just worry the longer we delay it, the longer it takes for us to get where we need to be. That's my
Well,
only
and Rick
concern.
made a
is-
really good point too, though. We don't have any money to do anything with
True.
it really till July 1st. But I mean, I'm sure there's some stuff we can do to get ourselves prepped for it ahead of time. But
Yeah, I think if you guys make a decision in March.
I'm sorry, my confusion was you said, and then a year from now, and I'm thinking, oh, a year, that's.
no,
I
a year
must
from
have
now, we will present at the next annual meeting. This is, so they've done their research, this is where we're
Yeah.
headed.
We'll present
This
a
is what
plan
we
from
need.
the administration
Right, and then here's.
on how to move forward.
Here's how it's gonna be funded over the next couple of years.
Right, and I think there's work that can be done in between now and then.
Yeah, no, I
For
think,
sure.
and we may get a lot of feedback at the next meeting or at the annual meeting that says, what are you guys doing? Just, we love that thing and move forward with this. And it may be pretty, overwhelmingly. I mean, I think from the comments you got, most all of them were pretty, I think the path we're headed is the right path. I think there's some confusion in there, like the 6th grade comment. And I think, we pretty much determined we're not gonna try to truck kids over any hills or anything. I think the transportation committee kind of figured that out too. So I think we're on the right path with where a majority wants. And, I've always said that, we need to just keep 26% of the people happy, because less than half the people vote or come out or give input. So out of that half, you only gotta keep a little bit better than half of those people happy to keep going forward. So I think you've got it. I mean, it seems to make sense, but let's just let it play out for another month and then we'll go. Excellent. Good job, folks.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
When you have that presentation, that slide about a STEM program of what you just showed us for the meeting and at
Yeah.
the annual meeting as well? I think
Yes.
that would be
Yes.
really helpful, yes.
Do you have the ability to do this at the Wardsboro Town Hall?
Not if there's not internet.
It's a PDF.
Right, but wasn't the
Video?
link for the YouTube video?
Yeah.
You can download YouTube videos, yeah.
It's a good video, I mean, for people that are not quite certain
You
what
can sometimes
that.
get the fire department's Wi-Fi in there if you have their password.
We could prep it for not needing.
Yeah, if you just get it, if you record it or copy it. I think it would be a good thing to do this presentation 2 more times. I mean, it's funny because we try to, all through this whole thing, there's all of a sudden people come out of the woodwork and say, I didn't know anything about this. Well,
Right.
the more chances.
That happens all the time. We know
Yeah.
that, so.
Okay, perfect. I think, good job, folks. We're ready. Activities for budgeting and public meetings. So Anita had a really nice calendar. So today's January 7th. The budget's already been approved and it's updated. We're all good to go. January 14th is by January 28th is our next meeting.
Is
That's
it?
in Dover.
Okay, we are gonna have a 28th
Yeah.
meeting, okay.
And
that's in Dover.
That's in Dover.
Got it.
So our annual meeting is Tuesday, February 12th. So February, we can still meet that first February Monday, which would be the 4th. That meeting would be in Wardsboro. So I don't think, Bill, we need to do that presentation then. the presentation you did tonight, we'll do it in Dover
On the
at the end of the,
28th.
right. On the 4th, we won't do it in Wardsboro. I think we should plan on having that meeting.
The 4th?
Yeah, see what happens. Oh, you know why we need to do that? I think because we want to have it 10 days before we want to have a meeting 10 days before the annual meeting to discuss, to present any of our information. I think that was in our articles that 10 days before the annual meeting, we would have a meeting to discuss the articles or anything we're voting on. And then we have February 12th at the Wardsboro Town Hall, and then February 18th, budget information meeting, and that's for the annual meeting. I mean, that's for town meeting.
February 18th.
See, no, this is wrong.
Wrong?
That's all right.
Hang on a sec.
I have the wrong dates?
No. March 5th is your Australian ballot. I'm sorry, it's 10 days before the Australian ballot vote, we have to have the meeting to let people question the budget. So February 18th doesn't work.
So you're doing it after, at the end of one of the regular school board meetings, you're gonna do that?
Well, we're gonna do
that
it
meeting.
at all the school board meetings, but we gotta make sure one of them is 10 days before. So,
February 18th is President's Day.
right, and that's not 10 days, that's more than 10 days before. So let's meet February 25th
25th.
in Dover. That'll be our second meeting in Dover. And then that way, that will be 10 days before
Not quite,
budget vote. The budget vote's on the 5th.
right.
What's the date? 25th.
So we're within
Right.
10 days,
Okay.
right?
It's-
25th, is it leap year this year or not?
It's, we've got 28
No.
days in
Within 10
February.
days or?
So 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, right?
25th in
days.
Dover.
1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. It's 9 days, so that's within 10 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And do we meet on day before town meeting day? Fourth?
Yeah, so do we want to meet the day before town meeting day? That would be a Wardsboro meeting.
No.
Well, you guys will still have to have.
We can. We have a meeting that night.
Right.
Yeah, so that's out.
Okay, so let's, then, so we won't,
Two quick notes
I
from
can't
that,
be
Miss
two
Ann.
places at once.
so when do we meet in Wardsboro in March? Do you want to do it the second Monday in March?
Sure.
No, we would need to, yeah, I mean, we need to reorganize that, right?
Yeah, because we'll have to have a Wyndham Central meeting at the, shortly after that, so.
Wow.
But no, we won't be in, we're still not an operating district, so we don't care about Wyndham Central. So,
You're right, yeah. Oh, wow, that gets confusing.
yeah, because what, the River Valley won't need representatives to Wyndham Central till July 1st. I know it's gonna be really confusing at Wyndham Central. Let's meet the second Monday in March for Wardsboro. Let's pencil that in. And then we'll meet the third Monday in March in Dover. Because we'll have the input then from the budget vote in case something happens with the budget vote that we need to redo another budget. We'll be a week out. And then we'll also have the stuff that we get from the meeting, the annual meeting to be able to put forward. That way we get it into both towns too, whatever direction we're gonna send the administrators in. Right?
Which direction you think that's gonna be, Bill?
And with you guys, I never.
So we're gonna meet on the 28th in Dover.
25th.
I'm talking about January, just to recap.
Oh,
okay.
yes.
Go way back.
So our next
I'm
meeting,
going way back.
You start
our next
early.
meeting is January 28th.
7 o'clock in Dover.
Yep.
Yes. February
4th.
in Wardsboro, that's our
Wardsboro.
regular Wardsboro meeting.
Right.
Then the annual Wardsboro meeting on the 12th,
12th, yeah.
or the annual River Valleys meeting in Wardsboro on the 12th.
Right.
Then we're gonna meet the 25th of February in Dover.
Okay.
Yep.
Then everybody will have their town meeting on March 5th. And that'll be the Australian ballot vote, so we'll know if our first budget passes or not. And then we'll meet the second and third Mondays in March, which are
11th and 18th.
11th and
11th and what?
18th.
311.
Oh, wait, yeah.
311 is here, right?
Like 11th, 18th, or 11th and 25th?
11th and 18th.
Is that right?
If that's the second and third.
Second and third.
Yep, second and third, or
Second
11th
and third,
and
got it.
18th. I brought the calendar.
Nice.
Yay!
Well done. Okay.
Okay. We all good with that? Peter, did you get all that? Gibbley got it?
Probably should start over.
No.
One more time.
Okay.
One more time.
So here we go. The next meetings. Our next meeting is January 28th at Dover.
Yep.
We had to give Mark an extra week to think of questions. So we can note that.
Blame it on me.
February 4th,
Yep.
we're going to meet in Wardsboro at 7.
Yep.
February 12th is the annual meeting.
Yep.
That will be in Wardsboro at the town hall
Right.
at 7. February 25th, we'll meet in Dover.
Okay.
And that'll also be a budget meeting, or present the budget again too. Review the budget. In a regular board meeting. Then there's town meeting is March 5th. And we're not gonna have any meetings, but they're gonna vote on the budget. Then on March 11th, we're gonna meet in Wardsboro. And you'll take care of making sure that's okay with the Wardsboro board.
Why wouldn't it be? March 11th.
'Cause you're
Oh,
meeting
because
on
it's
the
the same day. Yeah,
Yes.
got it.
And then March 18th, we'll meet in Dover. And then 2 days after we meet in Dover, it'll be the first day of spring.
March 5th is town meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, gonna meet the day after St. Patrick's Day. Here, we'll bring us corned beef and hash. Everybody good with those dates? Yes, sir, Matt?
Did you say February 13th?
No, February 12th.
12th, okay.
Is the annual meeting. February 13th is the day before Valentine's Day.
Right.
It's a bad day to be a rose.
Also the winter concert, so I just
Okay.
thought it was very.
So if you're bored on after the annual meeting, you can go to the concert and be relaxed. Is everybody good with that?
Yes.
Good job.
Okay.
Okay.
Excuse
Review
me, Rich.
dates.
Rich, the March meetings are the 11th and the 25th, or the 11th and the 18th?
11th and the 18th.
Ah, okay.
So we'll try to get back on a regular schedule.
Get it in the minutes.
Okay, so a couple quick things. I got a letter here from Burton sending their annual tuition rate. So it's a long letter, but basically they sent their tuition rate at $17,490. We put $17,500 in the budget, so we're actually going to save $10 per Burton student. So
$10.
yeah, so in Dover, I think it's 12 students this year. So there, we just saved $120. So anybody says that we don't try to save money,
3 cases of paper.
there you go. Isn't that much now? Which it constitutes a 2.49% increase from the current year. Tuition for non-sending towns is $19,490. They tell you how they arrived at it. Their increases have been 2.3% annually. The average increase over the last 10 years is 2.74%. They talk about fundraising. They had a big gala in May and they raised $100,000. And they bring in students from around the globe, and there's her letter. I also had under the review the dates. So last year about this time we set a calendar up for what we're going to do for the future, for the next year. So we have some pretty big things going on. We're going to have the focus group going on. We're going to have transportation. At the last meeting, Carrie reported too that in transportation, we're supposed to put a letter together to give to the Wyndham Central to ask for maybe some assistance from them in seeing if there's any savings or in combining transportation routes or making bigger transportation routes or involved more with Wyndham Central. We're gonna have our first year of the tuition or the school policy, which school you get to attend. So I'm sure we're gonna have to, we'll be reviewing that probably in the, late summer, because I'm sure there'll be some issues over that. And then we'll have to come up with a transportation decision next year. And also, we're gonna, have to start working on a budget in September. I think we also need to kind of start strategizing. Dwight is gonna work on the two reserve studies, capital studies, so that we can put some real numbers and decide how we want to move the funds around and how many capital funds we want. Plus Lori will be able to work on that with us a little bit once she gets through the budget cycles. So what I need everybody to do, and we make sure we tell our two missing board members, is whatever you can think of that we want to get on the calendar. I think last year that helped a lot, and if you look at our calendar, we pretty much hit everything dead on. So it kind of just give us some guidance, and it also gives Bill some future planning, and when he has to be concerned and not concerned, and I think for both administrators. So I think at the next meeting, let's try to get a calendar set up, and Bill, you can help us with whatever you're foreseeing in Wyndham Central land too.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other old business? Okay, new business. You're supposed to bring me something about tuition rates?
Yeah, I'm gonna recommend to the board that you set a tuition rate of $14,500 for the River Valleys School District.
How much is Burton?
17,490.
17,490. I want to set that rate because I think we're as good.
So your current Dover is 13.5. Wardsboro historically hasn't set a rate in this fashion. Looking at, I think 14.5 is an appropriate amount for what you guys are doing, but I need you guys to decide that, to set it.
Comments? Thoughts?
I don't understand what you said Wardsboro doesn't set.
They don't sit at this meeting right now and say, what is the tuition rate?
Well, we have to do it by a certain date.
Right.
What's that date?
The 15th.
Of this month?
Yes.
So if we don't set it now, we won't set it.
Right.
Do you mean Wardsboro, they do that later, or they don't set their...
It just hasn't had a lot of opportunities to have tuition students come.
Okay.
What was the rate for incoming students?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you thought like tuition rate on what we're
I
gonna...
didn't- yeah,
Well, I wasn't sure what he meant by setting a tuition rate.
No, so every school, by state law, you're supposed to publish by the 15th of January your tuition rates, so that
cost
other
if they wanted to come.
right, how much we're gonna charge if you want to tuition your child to our school. And the reason you do that is so that other towns can plan on their budgets.
Right.
And,
What's our per pupil? Is that what our per pupil is anyway?
well, that's what you try to figure,
Oh,
somewhere close to your per pupil.
Yeah.
So there's also a caveat in the law that says that if you're more than a certain percentage higher or lower, you can do an adjustment. So in Dover for years, we've signed an agreement with Twin Valley saying that we're just gonna settle on this rate, and whether it's high or low, it doesn't matter, that we're not gonna go after you, because for a while in Dover, when it was Wilmington, they were their actual cost per pupil was way under what they were charging us. We were getting like $100,000 back from them, but we had a lot of students going there. So then what they did was they lowered their rate so low that we wound up having to pay him at the end of the year. So we said, look, instead of playing the game, let's just come up with a reasonable number. And they actually gave us a number too that said if most of our students went there, we would get a lower rate. But it never worked out that way. So we do in Dover, Bill, what do we got? Or Matt, 3-4 tuition students from Stratton usually?
Yeah.
Sometimes some from Searsburg. Is
We
Wardsboro
have a couple this year from
from
Stratton.
from Stratton?
Yeah.
So again, if you don't have a school, if you don't operate a elementary school, just like we don't operate a high school, your child can go to any public, and the town has to pay that tuition rate, or they can go to a private or independent school and pay the statewide average or whatever rate set by the. So the superintendent, through his business office, his business manager is recommending a rate of 14.5.
Yeah, we're currently 13,000 in Wardsboro and 13.5 in Dover.
So you're saying 14.5?
I am recommending 14.5.
And is that because of?
Yeah, why did you come up with that number?
Well, he's got the number of our budget divided by the number of pupils.
That's what we're worth.
Surrounding, the context of Southern Vermont elementary.
Value, that's what you consider to be our value. Okay. It's not a market forces.
Well, what is the cost per pupil that we're recommending that the budget's gonna be?
Elementary.
Do you have this? Where was it?
So we could go 16.8, but then people may not.
That's not these people are necessarily shopping.
No,
Well,
You know, they're not shopping.
I think 14.5
for a better
is
deal
fair
for
for
the town.
what.
No, I know, but I'm just saying is, that's what a lot of towns base it on, is their actual cost per pupil. So a lot of times you will get, people will say to you, well, if it's costing me, $17,000 to bring my child here, in tax rate, why are you charging other towns less?
Well,
But the other thing is, because that money helps us offset taxes.
Right, of course.
So we want to encourage people to come here, so Bill's recommendation saying that, looking at surrounding towns too. So, yeah, we came up, the number that we came up with, equalized spending per pupil, is 17,678. That's what we're going to with the budget. So by going 14.5, we're lower than our per pupil cost.
Yeah.
What if you had an influx of a lot of students all of a sudden who say, oh, I want to go, I heard about
Well,
it.
no, because the tuition policy, we have to have room for them. We can say no to tuition students.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be an awesome problem.
That'd be a great
Would be
problem to
an
have. That'd be a
awesome
really good problem.
That is the kind of problem I'd be thrilled to
Yeah.
chat with you guys about. Oh, we got 12 people that want to pay
Right.
14.5.
Well, and the other thing go ahead.
No, I'm just chatting, but I think you might be onto something. If a town like Stratton is a sending town, the town will pay up to 17.6, won't they, to send a student to another school?
They will pay public school allowable tuition.
Ah, okay.
Which,
All
gets
is
figured
why-
out at the end of the year, but right now we're projecting 17,678.
right. Okay.
Because we don't include any capital improvements in this budget. But also this budget includes a buy down.
Yeah.
So our number's actually higher.
Sounds good.
And any extra services are billed out too, though, to tuition
Yeah.
students, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's not.
Special ed or all that.
Exactly, whereas that's kind of included in our
That
budget.
is included in ours.
when
And the
it
average
comes right down to
cost.
that, and the average
Well,
cost.
the average cost is 2,566 per ADM in Vermont. So there's your 17.
Between $14,000 and $15,000. something in that range.
Can I just understand that? So if you had 10 students come in and 9 of them required special education, that's billed out separately, we wouldn't have to
That is correct.
incur that cost?
Correct.
No, we don't
That would be-
incur any cost for any tuition students.
Okay.
It's all borne by the town from which they
Sending.
come.
Any special services. though.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
But
So
all
that's not
regular
gonna-
It's included in
services.
ours.
Okay.
So like if we have library, we can't charge extra for them to use the library, because that's part of your regular education. And that's what we charge tuition for. So Bill's make a recommendation that we do 14.5 for tuition.
I have a problem.
Okay, no,
That's
great.
what-
Answer my
I think
questions.
we just
The
beat that up
questions
pretty
are
good.
answered, I think.
Yes, thank you.
Makes sense.
So what do we do next?
Make a motion,
Make a
right?
motion?
Yeah.
Dwight made a motion for 14.5.
Second.
Carrie seconded it. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bill, you got a tuition rate.
All right,
Okay.
14.5.
Made you work for that one.
Anybody got any?
Thanks for all your hard work, Bill.
Any other new business? I'm sorry. I did bring a copy, and Anita had it, of the warning that's recorded, if anybody wants to see it. Everybody should look at it and be familiar with it.
We do, we have it in.
Yeah, but
Okay, perfect. So then I would just entertain, I need a executive session for a contractual issue, and then we will be able to get out of here.
So moved that we go into executive session for contractual issues.
Second,
I
I'm good, I have.
Dwight seconds it, I heard
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're in.
Okay.
I'm gonna make sure this is all right. So
We're not gonna make decisions, so you guys can